Through one mistake in an ironic chain of events in 2018, the U.S. Postal Service was liable in a court case that ended up costing them several $1 million. That's according to internet research specialist David Sarakeen in a May 13, 2019 article for Legal Beagle's website. So what did they do? Well, they mistakenly used an image of the Las Vegas copy of the Statue of Liberty to make postage stamps, thinking it was original. In doing so, they infringed on that artist's copyright on the Las Vegas sculpture. Now, none of us may ever face a $1 million penalty, but this case illustrates just how easy it is to violate copyright law, even accidentally. And as college students, we all use materials protected by these laws, books, videos, music, photos, to name a few, right now for our education, and we will use them for our future careers. Through my experience in journalism, photography, music, and working as a communications intern, I've come face to face with the need both to be protected by it and to respect these laws. To that point, in a July 17, 2017 online article for Traverse Legal, intellectual property attorney Mallory King says, quote, "Copyright infringement is strict liability, which means you remain liable for copyright infringement even though you did not intend or realize you were infringing a copyright," end quote. Because of this, I believe it's crucial to educate our society about how they might be breaking these laws and the penalties that can follow. But right now, just not enough is being done to do that. With this in mind, today I want to first expound on the issue of copyright infringement, then discuss why this issue has become pervasive in our society, and finally we'll look at how a simple but required 1 credit hour college course could help abate this problem. According to an online quick fact sheet for 2018 published by the U.S. Sentencing Commission, over 69,000 cases of copyright and trademark offenses were reported that year. Now, breaking copyright law poses 2 problems to our society. First, it's stealing from the makers of creative work, and secondly, it can lead to serious consequences for the offender, even if they were innocently oblivious. A January 29, 2019 article for Copyrighted.com explains that creators receive copyright protection as soon as their work is in what's considered a tangible form. And as soon as this happens, they have, quote, "the exclusive right to make copies, distribute, display, modify, adapt, and derive from his or her material," end quote. Even without officially registering, the maker of a copyrightable piece of work receives that copyright inherently so that they can make work off of the material. By us using or sharing that content without permission or paying for it, we're essentially stealing their product. That article on Copyrighted.com I mentioned also says that these laws give artists incentive to make more content, which then in turn benefits our own lives. Artists deserve credit for their work, and copyright infringements prevent this from happening. Moreover, an artist when they're artists their job, they can't practically continue to create content if they're receiving no financial benefit. And if an artist finds out you've infringed on their rights, you can face serious consequences. In an online article for LegalZoom that I accessed on April 12th, attorney Larissa Boniewicz explains that penalties for copyright infringement can include civil fines, criminal charges, and reputational harm. Fines can be hundreds of dollars or up to $150,000 per infringed piece of work if it's intentional. Also, if it's intentional, you could have criminal charges, which could put you in jail for 180 days. Another thing that's important to note is even a mistaken infringement could end up costing you your job, could hurt a company financially, and ruin their reputation. Now that we've seen how copyright infringement is a pertinent problem, it raises the question, why does it happen, and why do so many people do it? Well, a large reason is that on the surface, it just doesn't seem like a big deal, and we justify it in certain situations. The ubiquity of digital content in the internet, plus the fact that we can't really see who we're affecting, makes copyright violations seem less tangible than stealing an actual object. A survey done by Princeton Survey Research Associates International, published by the University of Columbia's American Assembly website in November 2011, showed that piracy, which is a certain type of copyright infringement, was particularly accepted among family and friends. Through that survey, they found around 70% of people thought it was okay if they illegally shared certain content if it was within their family, and around 55% still thought it was okay even with their friends. And this is an example of how we use our situation to justify copyright violation. Another reason why infringement is so common is that copyright law is complex, and no one teaches it to us. Outside of a class that I had to take for my journalism minor, my knowledge about copyright has come from personal experience and personal research. However, copyright law is intensely complex. There's 11 chapters and 16 appendices regarding it in U.S. law, and it's extremely difficult to understand on your own. Now, of course, the point isn't to understand every specific detail. That's impractical, impossible, and just not really necessary. But if no one even tells us how important these laws are or gives us a basic understanding of them, then we'll have no knowledge about them when we enter the workforce. So given the way copyright infringement kind of silently creeps into our lives, it's clear that something needs to be done to educate our society. This is especially pertinent for us as college students for our education now and for the sake of our professional careers. The simple way to ensure every person entering the workforce is equipped to navigate copyright law is to create a simple 1 credit hour class that freshmen are required to take when they enter college. According to an October 18, 2019 article in copyrightlaws.com, former U.S. Register for Copyright Maria Palante says everyone needs a basic understanding of copyright laws, and certain people in some fields need an even greater amount of knowledge. She also mentioned that she believes right now educational curriculum in the United States does not discuss this enough or at all. So implementing a 1 credit hour course in college could be a fix to that problem. And while such a course could be implemented in high school, I believe that a 1 credit hour course in college is more practical and the best way to introduce copyright education. And college students are focused on their career, making the content from such a course more relevant and more easily applicable to real-world situations. In addition, a 1 hour course is common in college when things like that just don't really exist in high school. Moreover, the purpose of a course in providing a foundation of knowledge would be served with 1 hour while also keeping the cost of the course low and preventing students from having to add another 3-hour class to their coursework to give them a headache for the whole semester. Now, even with keeping it to 1 credit hour, some people may wonder, do we really need a class when you can learn about copyright law online? Well, yes, we can learn about copyright law online, but it raises a really large issue, which is where do you start? And in addition to that, because of its complexity, you ask yourself, what applies to me? What applies to my specific situation? Now, K-State's website does have a page that discusses this, so how you can kind of go through a process of figuring out which copyright laws apply to you in your specific situation, but in all my time at K-State, I never remember being informed about this, not in a class, not at a meeting, not with an organization or in the dorms or anything. And what better way to share this helpful knowledge with students than to create a course that lays a foundation of solid knowledge and provides them with strategic resources that they can learn from in the future. In an April 2012 online article for the World Intellectual Property Organization magazine, copyright lawyer Leslie Harris says, quote, "With widely available technologies that make it easy to download and copy creative content, and amid escalating rates of online piracy, there's a growing interest in copyright education," end quote. Today we looked at how copyright infringement poses a threat to creative workers and how it can lead to serious consequences for violators. These infringements happen because, 1, they just don't seem like a big deal, or 2, because no one's really taught us about them. A simple way to start solving this societal issue is to create a 1 credit hour course that college freshmen must take when they're coming to the university. And even though we as students are sometimes protected by what's called fair use, which gives us permission to use copyrighted materials in special ways when we're being educated, this isn't a foolproof protection. We still have to be careful, and these clauses will not protect us most likely when we're in the workforce. In the article I mentioned earlier, Leslie Harris also said, quote, "Once the preservative specialist, copyright has become a mainstream issue, and understanding how it works is an increasingly necessary life skill," end quote. As students, it may seem hard to know what to do about this, but you can contact and talk with university admin or with heads of colleges. Or even something as simple as telling your professor when you're confused as to whether you can use a piece of work you found online as a place to start. Through that and other ways, make it clearly known that you want to understand more about these important laws because they impact more than just right now, they could impact your professional future.